The U.S. military says it has completed its latest round of airstrikes against the Islamic Republic, marking the 12th consecutive night of American attacks ordered by President Trump. But now the United States has reportedly escalated its military campaign against Iran, deploying B-1 long-range bombers in its first such mission since the conflict resumed 12 days ago. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the latest.
U.S. Central Command said its latest operations targeted Iranian maritime capabilities, missile and drone storage sites, coastal surveillance facilities, and air defense assets. The U.S. military said it's resumed a maritime blockade of Iran, reporting that American forces have redirected 9 commercial vessels and disabled 1 ship to prevent traffic from entering or leaving Iranian ports. According to Axios, the B-1 took off from a U.S. base in the United Kingdom before carrying out a strike inside Iran. Its flight was tracked online, but U.S. officials have not disclosed the target or the results of the mission. The B-1 long-range bomber is capable of carrying out precision-guided penetrating munitions. The U.S. reportedly informed Israel that it will soon deploy heavy bombers for strikes on Iran, presumably targeting fortified nuclear sites. The escalation comes as Iran continues missile and drone attacks across the Gulf. Iran says it launched drone attacks on U.S. military facilities in Kuwait, claiming to have targeted bases at Al-Arifjan, Al-Doha, and Al-Salam, including fuel depots and ammunition storage sites. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard claimed it stopped 3 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, warning that any ship attempting to transit without Iranian coordination would be targeted. President Trump is now warning for each ship targeted by Iran, the U.S. will hit Iranian infrastructure. Trump said it's only a matter of time before Iran makes a deal.
And I call it a skirmish. This is with this skirmish we have with the Islamic Republic of Iran, and I call it that because let me tell you, they're getting hit so hard, and they want to make a deal. But I say they're not ready to make a deal. Because every time they make a deal, they want to change it and everything. They're not ready. They'll be ready very soon.
Meanwhile, the threat to shipping in the Red Sea is continuing to grow after a Saudi-owned oil tanker was struck while sailing through the strategic waterway. Saudi authorities say the tanker and Celia caught fire after being hit near its bow, but all crew members were safely evacuated. The attack comes just days after Iran-backed Houthi rebels declared a maritime blockade of Saudi Arabia, warning commercial ships to stay away from Saudi ports. The threat is already disrupting global trade, with several oil tankers changing course to avoid the Red Sea as security risks mount. For Israel, the incident highlights the expanding threat posed by the Houthis, who have repeatedly targeted Israel with missiles and drones during the Gaza war and are now threatening the strategic sea lanes from Eilat through the Red Sea, a vital corridor for Israeli and global commerce.
The U.S. House has passed the $1.15 trillion defense bill and includes major provisions for Israel. Congress narrowly passed its version of the fiscal 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, approving a record $1.15 trillion defense package. The bill passed 216 to 212, largely along party lines, and now moves to the Senate. The legislation includes hundreds of millions of dollars for joint U.S.-Israel defense projects. Progressive Democrats oppose the measure, citing its massive cost, the ongoing war with the Islamic Republic, and provisions expanding security cooperation with Israel. But their effort to remove those measures failed. The bill comes as the Pentagon says the Iran campaign has already cost the United States more than $37 billion, with the Senate now set to take up its own version of the defense legislation. The United States has signed a landmark 30-year nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia, a deal that is sparking growing concern in Israel. The pact initially dropped the previous requirement that Riyadh normalize relations with Israel, but President Trump stated this afternoon that the deal is conditioned on Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. The Trump administration says the agreement will allow U.S. companies to develop Saudi Arabia's civilian nuclear energy program while keeping sensitive technology under strict American control. Under the deal, Washington and Riyadh would spend the next 2 years studying whether a Saudi uranium enrichment facility is feasible. If approved, it would be built using a highly restricted black box system designed to limit Saudi access to the technology. However, the agreement does not require the IAEA's strictest inspections of the regime, even though it does condition nuclear cooperation on Saudi recognition of the State of Israel. The Trump administration insists the arrangement will prevent any military use of nuclear material, but non-proliferation experts warn it could set a precedent for other regional powers to seek similar enrichment rights. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stressed the agreement will ensure the nuclear program will remain peaceful.
Any agreement that we're going to make with any country in the world on civil nuclear energy is going to be one that will have safeguards in place to ensure that it can't be turned into a weapons program. And one of the best safeguards is to make sure that American technology and American companies are the ones that are involved in doing it. If, on the other hand, a country pursues nuclear technology with another country, well, then we don't really control those safeguards.
As the United States expands its military campaign against the Islamic Republic, what does that mean for the future of the regime, as well as the opposition and, of course, the Iranian people? Well, joining us now to discuss this is Khosrow Isfahani, the research director at the National Union for Democracy in Iran. Khosrow, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on. The U.S. has now carried out 12 consecutive nights of strikes on the Islamic Republic. What is the impact of what we're seeing? I mean, we've seen increasing activity, but what is the U.S. hoping to actually achieve?
I don't think anyone knows, to be honest. The strikes against the Islamic Republic has targeted a number of infrastructure facilities, military bases, but no one has any actual clarity about the goal of this military operation. I hope that President Trump will escalate the strikes against the regime to hit the heart of the Islamic Republic. This regime has shown again and again and again and again and again that no piece of paper is going to contain its malign behavior. Over the past 12 days, they have struck against literally every neighbor of Iran again. The regime has been exporting death and destruction again. How long are we going to tolerate this behavior from the Islamic Republic and wring our hands and hope that Ghalibaf or Ejei or whomever is at the top of the pyramids right now is going to have a moment of coming to Jesus and change the policies of the Islamic Republic? It's not going to happen. It's an absolute delusion, and it's going to never deliver actual results. The world is on the precipice of an actual conflict that other adversaries of the United States, Russia and China, are watching very closely. And it's going to explode in our face if we don't move fast and end the Islamic Republic problem of the world soon.
I do want to ask you, I know you're in touch with those inside of Iran. What are you hearing from Iranians on the ground? How are they responding to the escalating U.S. airstrikes that we're seeing, and what do they hope to see?
What we hear from people inside the country is absolute fatigue and exhaustion of this confusion. When you talk with people inside the country, they look forward to the absolute annihilation of the Islamic Republic and the dismantlement of this fascist Islamist system. But the question that comes back at us again and again is whether this round of conflict or the future rounds, when it actually turns into kinetic action against the regime, is it going to deliver any results, or is it going to be a repetition of the 12-day war, or what the Islamic Republic now calls the war of Ramadan? Is it going to just be some show of force against this murderous regime who killed tens of thousands of Iranians in January? Or is the United States going to go in and finish the job of the destruction of the Islamic Republic? That's the main question that comes back to us again and again. But at the same time, we receive a message of determination. Despite the exhaustion, Iranians know what they are dealing with. The Islamic Republic cannot be reformed. A reshuffle at the top is not going to change the behavior of this regime. There is one solution to the Islamic Republic problem of the world. It's absolute annihilation of this regime or total humiliating surrender for its leaders. Nothing in between would work.
Now, I know the situation inside of Iran is quite abysmal right now. There's shortages of water, of electricity throughout the country, in a country that's so resource rich it should never be happening in the first place. I do want to ask you about that, as well as the ongoing executions, which seem to have fallen by the wayside in terms of international reporting. If I understand correctly, there are executions taking place almost every single day. What is the approach of the Iranian people towards these issues, given that the entire international community seems to only be concerned about the Strait of Hormuz and the kinetic military conflict that we see?
Iranian lives never mattered, apparently, to anyone outside Iran, maybe with the exception of Israel. No one cares when Iranians are butchered on the streets in tens of thousands. Why would they care when 1 or 2 protesters is executed? No one cares about us. We know that we are lonely in this fight, except for our brothers and sisters in IDF. We know that we are going to keep marching as long as this regime stands. When you talk with people inside Iran, you mentioned the collapse of the economy and the lack of resources. Electricity goes out for hours, then water goes out for hours, and in many buildings you rely on electric pumps to get the water up to your floor. So when electricity comes back and water is out, it's going to be a repetition, a cycle that you don't have access to these basic goods for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours every day. When it comes to executions, there is a sense of frustration. President Trump repeatedly boasted that he has been able to stop executions in Iran. Executions are happening in Iran again. Where is the word? Where are those who were promising us that help is on the way?
Well, you know, President Trump also says that the regime will be ready to make a deal, his words, very soon. From your perspective, I mean, why is he still acting as if a credible deal can even be made with this regime? At this point, it kind of sounds like a broken record.
Some people are under the assumption that you can have a good deal with the Islamic Republic. There is only one good deal with the terrorists, and it's the price of the body bag that you are going to put them in, nothing else. You might add in the color of the body bag that you will put them in as a bonus, but nothing beyond that has any meaning. Did the deal that Lord Chamberlain signed with the Nazi Germany contain that murderous regime? It didn't. No deal with the Islamic Republic is going to change the face of this conflict. This conflict for the Islamic Republic is not only ideological, it's existential. The Islamic Republic's existence hinges on destruction of Israel, animosity towards the West. This is a civilizational war. Some people in the West are yet to catch up with the news that was announced in 1979 when the Islamic Republic came to power. Iranians have been living with that reality for all these years. That's why we have been dying and fighting this regime non-stop for the past 5 decades. We are going to keep marching. Eventually, hopefully, the world will wake up and help us finish the job.
All right. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for joining us and shedding some light on what's happening inside of Iran as well.
Thank you.
75 years ago, a bold idea helped build a nation. Since then, Israel Bonds has helped power growth, innovation, and resilience across Israel. Generation after generation, investors have turned values into action. Now, it's your turn to be a part of the next chapter. Celebrate 75 years of Israel Bonds. Invest today at israelbonds.com.
The next round of U.S. brokered talks between Israel and Lebanon will take place on August 4th in Rome, as both sides move ahead with the first phase of a new security arrangement for southern Lebanon. The talks were confirmed by an Israeli official after Italy's foreign minister announced the date. The ambassador-level meetings are aimed at implementing the U.S.-backed agreement designed to end hostilities along that Israel-Lebanon border. Meanwhile, Israel has completed its first pilot withdrawal from the village of Zatar al-Gharabiya, where the Lebanese army has begun deploying troops. Residents have been asked to delay their return while the area is cleared of unexploded ordnance. The Lebanese Prime Minister, Nawaf Salam, visited the village, planting a Lebanese flag and calling the move the beginning of a complete Israeli withdrawal. His visit followed President Joseph Aoun's White House meeting with President Donald Trump, where Aoun pledged to disarm Hezbollah, but said a full Israeli withdrawal would be needed for the plan to succeed. Israel, however, has made it clear that any further withdrawals will depend on the Lebanese army proving it can prevent Hezbollah from reestablishing its military presence in the south. For Jerusalem, the pilot zone is a critical test of whether Lebanon can enforce its sovereignty or whether Israel will once again have to act to defend its northern border.
Imagine earning your master's degree on top of Mount Carmel, where forest meets sea and where every day brings a new cultural, academic, and personal adventure. This is the multi-experience at U Haifa International. Here, students from around the world live and learn together in Israel's most culturally diverse city, meeting new people, discovering new perspectives, and shaping their own Israel experience.
There's people from different countries, from different religions and different languages. Somehow we are all very similar.
At U Haifa, academics meet real life. You don't just study, you experience Israel up close, explore Haifa's mountain ocean city life, and build global friendships that last a lifetime.
It's not just a degree, it's an experience. It opens your mind, your network, and your world.
U Haifa International. Master your mind, live your Israel experience.
New Hamas terror leader Khalil al-Hayya has made his first public comment since his selection was announced earlier this week. The video message sent to the media from an unknown location was the first by al-Hayya since succeeding Yahya Sinwar. Al-Hayya demanded a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, rejected any link between reconstruction and political concessions, and called for a broad Palestinian unity dialogue. The new Hamas leader is also calling on international mediators to press Israel to move to the next phase of President Trump's Gaza peace plan.
أولويتنا الأولى والواضحة هي الوقف الشامل لعدوان وقتل وإرهاب الاحتلال وتحقيق الانسحاب الكامل من قطاع غزة. وإننا هنا ندعو الدول الراعية لمسار التفاوض إلى ممارسة ضغوط حقيقية على حكومة الاحتلال اليمينية المتطرفة من أجل تطبيق ما تم الاتفاق عليه والمضي في استكمال الانتقال للمرحلة التالية.
The message from al-Hayya comes as negotiations remain stalled over Hamas's refusal to disarm, a central requirement of the U.S.-brokered peace plan. Israel has made it clear there will be no advance to the next phase until Hamas gives up its weapons and its military control of the Gaza Strip. For Israel, al-Hayya's first address only reinforces the view that despite a change in leadership, Hamas's core objectives remain unchanged, maintaining its armed rule, refusing to disarm, and rejecting the conditions Israel says are essential for any lasting end to the war. The IDF has released new details about 12 Gazans killed during the war who were publicly presented as football players, saying all were also members of Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The military revealed the identities of the Palestinian footballers, referees, and coaches who were presented as athletes and innocent civilians, but who in fact served as terrorists in the military wings of both Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip. They were struck and eliminated by the IDF during the war. Interestingly, some of these soccer players were also earlier presented as journalists.
As Israel faces growing threats, Chimes Israel is helping families of children with disabilities through challenges most people never see.
A lot of the parents are dealing with trauma from the war, from October 7th. We've created a program where we go into the families' homes. We help each family individually with whatever their issues are. One mother said that her husband had been not able to interact or communicate with their child at all. And the social worker that came in taught him how to connect with his child. And it made such a huge difference in their life.
Your support helps keep families together. Please donate.
How do you teach the next generation about Israel? Well, for Nefesh B'Nefesh's Zionist Education Initiative, also known as ZEI, the answer starts with the teachers themselves. This summer, 12 Jewish educators from across North America traveled to Israel as part of the inaugural ZEI Fellowship designed to help shape the future of Zionist education. ILTV joined them as history came to life.
We have launched the first inaugural ZEI Fellowship. We're bringing 12 outstanding North American trained high school educators to Israel to learn all about the story of the Jewish people in the land of Israel, on the land of Israel, to take back to their schools, to infuse their classrooms with Zionism and the story of the Jewish people in the land of Israel.
From the city of David to Israel's National Library, these educators aren't just studying Israel, they're experiencing it. Over 5 days, they explored the places, people, and stories that have shaped Jewish history, gaining new perspectives they'll bring back to their students.
The connection to the Jewish people in the land of Israel is sometimes very bifurcated, or maybe more than that, divided. There's the Eretz Yisrael of biblical times that you study in your Tanakh class. There's the Eretz Yisrael of Yom HaAtzmaut, when you put on white and blue and you dance. And there's the Eretz Yisrael, or Israel, of history, as you're studying the history of Zionism. One thing that we've been focusing on a lot here that I'm really excited to kind of bring back is that all of these pieces are part of what it means to be a part of the history and the current modern existence in the land of Israel, and that as American Jews, these all need to come together.
Through the Zionist Education Initiative, Nefesh B'Nefesh is investing in the educators shaping the Jewish classrooms. But this isn't just about memorizing dates or even historical facts. The fellowship challenges educators to ask bigger questions about Jewish identity, peoplehood, and what Zionism means for today's students.
We are a very old people, and 2,000 years ago in the Talmud, we're even told that if a parent can't teach a child, we should hire a teacher. The role of education is key to who we are as a people. And if we're thinking about the challenges of our time, I think everyone understands that we're in a very particular moment. And the other thing they understand is that, yes, we have to do Hasbara, yes, we have to fight anti-Semitism, yes to all of that. And it means that all the more so we have to inculcate in our kids not only an understanding of who they are, but a love of who they are, the joy of being Jewish, the meaning behind it. And that's what we're doing here today.
The program combines history, archaeology, pedagogy, and modern Israeli society, helping teachers turn complex ideas into lessons that feel relevant to a new generation of Jewish learners.
We've been learning a lot about how we could bring archaeology into the classroom, bringing modern-day Israel, political issues, and ancient Israel archaeology into our classroom and teach, the next generation of future leaders in the diaspora, Zionists, Olim.
The lessons didn't stop at historical sites. Throughout the week, the fellows met Israeli entrepreneurs, educators, and creators who are finding new ways to connect ancient Jewish history with modern Israeli life.
What blows my mind every single time were two of the seals that were found up in that palace. And what is that? Yukal ben Shlemiyahu and Gedaliyahu ben Pashku. This type of stuff is why I feel it's so important to drill it through people's heads that these are not fairy tales. These were real human beings that walked the streets of Yerushalayim right here.
As the fellows return home, they won't just bring back new lesson plans. They'll return with the tools, experiences, and confidence to help thousands of Jewish students build a deeper connection to Israel, to its history, and their own Jewish identity.
The fellowship, developed by Nefesh B'Nefesh in partnership with Kadima Coaching and Unpacked for educators, will continue throughout the year as participants implement what they've learned in their classrooms, expanding Zionist education across North America. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside steady temperatures, seeing highs of 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and keep up with us on social media. That's ILTV_Israel on all platforms. You can also catch us on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you for watching.
I'm Demo Klein, and you're watching ILTV News. But instead of just watching, you can now get the chance to access ILTV at its fullest capacity. Become a member on our ILTV YouTube channel and unlock insane benefits like priority comments in a chat room and even the chance to chat with me personally about anything you want. Register as a member or upgrade to an insider. But if you're really feeling fancy, you can subscribe as an ambassador. Unlock ILTV's premium content and the chance for a special Q&A with not just me, but any of our ILTV staffers. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your full potential with the ILTV membership. Don't just watch the news, get behind the scenes, join the conversation, and become part of the ILTV family. Click join, and I'll be waiting for you.